And welcome everybody to the final yard here on the 5 Reasons Sports Network. I am your host, Louis Sung. I am joined by Duke. And, the Miami Dolphins have won. Dolphins win 34-13 against the New York Jets in MetLife. We heard Igor and the guys from the MetLife takeover. They were we could hear them from the stands. We heard "Let's go Dolphins" rather clearly. So it was clear that they had an impact on the game, at least to that extent. They were able to encourage the team to victory, you could say. Yes, it sounds like I'm giving credit to them, but, I feel like they deserve some of it for everything they put together every year. Sadly, though, this game does not come without a high cost. So MetLife Stadium has claimed yet another Achilles, and this time it comes in the form of pass rusher Jaelan Phillips, who is definitely, unfortunately, out for the rest of this year, and who knows how long it'll take. Maybe the start of next year, too. Depends on how long it takes for him to heal up. He could take the Aaron Rodgers route and somehow miraculously get himself back into gear that way. I don't know the science of what Rodgers did. I know they showed a surgical graphic on the screen, so maybe Jaelan can do that. But even still, it's just like, it wasn't really worth it for Jaelan Phillips to be in there for that long. I don't know. You can make the argument that maybe it shouldn't have been that way. So I'm going to go ahead and let you say what you have on your mind in a moment, Duke, but I just want to make sure I get this out of the way first. As always, ladies and gentlemen, this show is brought to you by PrizePicks.com. PrizePicks.com is a revolutionary fantasy platform where you can now pick up to 6 different players across professional sports leagues, whether that is the NFL, the NBA, the MLB, one of each. It's up to you to decide. Just choose whether your chosen player will get more or less than their projected stat. Use that promo code 5, that's FIVE, and then we'll match up to $100 on your initial deposit when you sign up. Again, that's promo code 5, FIVE. Go to prizepicks.com and make sure you get in there to get started winning today. All right, so I kind of wanted to shorten that a little bit, and yes, pain, that is an excellent way of putting it. So, Duke, I'm going to go ahead and let you have your piece.
Don't play there anymore. That place is awful. Everyone's talked about it. If I'm an NFL owner, I would force my hand and say we will not play there in that stadium until they get natural grass. Just everyone band together and do that. It's awful. You hate injuries like that, especially for a young up and coming player. I think that was 6 sacks on the season for him. He was coming along. But overall, you got to move forward. You got several other injuries. John Holland came out. I don't know what his status is. Teron Armstead came out. It looks like though that he was just standing on the sidelines. It didn't look like anything bad. Plus, they have a long week. So 10 days before the next game, 9 days. So they got some time to rest up and get some guys back. But look, at one point we had Kendall Lamb. At one point we had 4 of the 5 offensive linemen were all backups. One was a backup to a backup in Keon Smith. And 37 rush attempts, 167 yards, 2 rushing touchdowns, 2 sacks yielded. Got to give it to him. That was a concern coming in. The offensive line stepped up, played a great game today. It was a 27 offensive points. So not the way we envisioned it going, but I said, on Pulse of Fins Nation, I said it on others, I expected the defense to step up in the part. The touchdown return at the end of the half, which was awesome. But 27 offensive defense.
Yeah. I wasn't sure.
They did it. Raheem.
All right. You're cutting out pretty bad there, Duke. I don't know if maybe it's something going on with your internet.
Maybe Steph was cutting out. So, all right, whatever.
All right, I'm sorry, man, but yeah, just a lot of people on Twitter. It was all over the place. Even here, Darth Gajira. God, I hate that field at MetLife. Otherwise, it's a good win. Yeah, there's no question about it. That field over there at MetLife Stadium. I never understood why. What was the purpose in keeping the artificial turf? Is it cheaper to maintain? Is Woody Johnson just not want to pay up for the grass or the field? The field keepers. I don't know. It just feels like it's so unnecessary because it's not just visiting players. Like Jets players get hurt there too. I don't understand why they don't just change the field. I don't know. I'm very upset for Jaelan Phillips. The kid, when he was getting carted off, he looked like he wasn't just in physical pain, he was in an emotional pain too. He wants so badly to be great, and he just keeps getting, I don't know what's the word for it. He just keeps getting walled off. Just keep throwing a brick wall right at him and saying, okay, now you have to break through this one. Now you have to break through this one just to be able to continue going on that upwards path that he's already climbing up a hill as it is. He's working his way to becoming one of the best young pass rushers in the NFL. And before he can even get off his snap, his Achilles just pops. Like they're showing the replay now on the CBS post game. It's just heartbreaking for the kid. And now the Dolphins are going to have to find a way to make up for his absence. They're going to have to trust Andrew Van Ginkel to continue being a pass rusher, which means they're going to need more from Duke Riley. They're going to have to rely on Emmanuel Ogbah to be able to get some work in. So, and mind you, Ogbah did get a sack, but at that point the game was already over. So it's not like the Jets were really trying all that hard. So I just look at this from the perspective of, I'm glad we get the win, no doubt about that. And we can talk about some of the negatives later on if we want to. But I just look at this game and think, I'm glad we won. I hate what we had to pay to get it.
Yeah. But, I know bad. But I went during the game and I looked it up against the team on the road game. Patrick Mahomes, 18, 30, 203 yards, 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions, 63.6 passer rating. Tua, 21 for 30, 243, 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions, 77.5 passer rating. So if Mahomes is standard, Jets did very well against him. They held who actually did a little better against the offense to play. The defense did their part. I mean, the Jets had 1 offensive touchdown. It was too important. The Dolphins played sloppy. Let me see if I can get the other stats pulled up. Uh, 395 total yards. Good.
I mean, the Dolphins offense overall, I want to say, did a great job. Raheem Mostert was the hero of the game. Go figure. He got a fantastic stat line, 20 carries, 94 yards, 4.7 yards per carry, and those 2 touchdowns, which he did a fantastic job with. And even Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill, like Tyreek Hill, 9 catches, 102 yards and a touchdown. Jalen Waddle, 8 catches, 114 yards. So those 2, once again, did amazing. The only one that I can say is any real issues at this point would be with Tua. But again, he made some bad decisions. Tua's prone to making bad decisions from time to time. It's not something that is completely unheard of for him. So I'm going to look at this game as, okay, this is one of Tua's bad games, and yet the Dolphins still were able to score 34 points. Granted, one of them was a defensive touchdown by Javon Holland. I'm going to take it. I'm going to take it and run with it. I'm very happy with how it ultimately turned out on defense, except for Jaelan Phillips' injury, which, again, that's a big deal for me. But overall, everybody else did a phenomenal job. Jeffrey is asking if there's any history of edge rushers coming back from an Achilles the next year and that he'll never be the same. I mean, let's put it this way. Cam Wake, Gethsemane is using that as an example. Cameron Wake did come back from his Achilles injury, and if it seemed like Cam was never the same after that, keep in mind that Cameron Wake was already getting up there long in the tooth. Jaelan Phillips is still a very, very young player, a very young, strong player. So there is a very distinct possibility that Jaelan Phillips, maybe he loses a half a step in the next season, but that doesn't mean that he's doomed to be mediocre for the rest of his career. I don't want to do that to him. Like he's already overcome so much. He's dealt with so many injuries over there. When he was in college, he had retired basically from football before he even got out of college. Then he went to the Miami Hurricanes and he went back into it, got drafted by the Dolphins in the first round. It was just a phenomenal just a phenomenal story for him. And this is going to be another one of those bumps in the road for him. I feel like he will overcome it. I really do. And in the meantime, Dolphins are going to have to find a way to get by without him, especially in the playoffs. So Jeffrey now feels better about it now that Cameron Wake has been brought up as an example. So the next thing I want to talk about really quickly here, there are if we really need to get an extra replacement for Jaelan Phillips, there are options out there. The Eagles recently waived Derek Barnett, so there's an option there. We could go ahead and pick him up, I suppose. There is also Melvin Ingram, who has not been on a team all season long. If he's been working out, maybe he's in football shape. I don't know if he's decided he still wants to play or not. Melvin Ingram would be an option. We know he can rush the passer he's been fresh all season. It wasn't until almost near the season's end that Ndamukong Suh and Linval Joseph joined up with the Eagles to go for their Super Bowl run. So it's not like Melvin Ingram couldn't jump in there and get some plays in. I'm sure he could. There are other Jason Pierre-Paul. I know that he's been looking to join up with a team and a contender at that, I'm sure. So that's another option for Miami. I don't know if you have any particular opinions on who you would be looking at in that group, Duke.
No, I mean, a good party on the but it's going to be Andrew Van Ginkel, and it's a good opportunity for him. So hopefully he can take it and run with it.
Yeah. So now I want to also highlight this real quick because Dolphins offensive line right now is in a little bit of a flux moment. So Teron Armstead went out. Kendall Lamb was already dealing with a back injury as it is. And so now that we know that, Keon Smith actually came in and played some left tackle. And then after Austin Jackson got ejected, which, by the way, I'm still not 100% sure what he got ejected for. Was it because he was involved in the fight? If that's the case, then shouldn't there have been a penalty thrown on Austin Jackson as well? I don't understand the explanation for that, but whatever the case is, Keon Smith had to go to right tackle. Kendall Lamb had to come in and play left tackle with his bad back. Fortunately, the Dolphins didn't actually suffer any ill effects from that. They were able to continue to run the football. They were able to continue doing what they needed to do. I'll give credit to Butch Berry because he has managed to make pretty much everybody on this team, this offensive line, at least serviceable. Even Liam Eichenberg on that last touchdown run by Raheem Mostert, he put on a pretty good block at right guard. So maybe there is just a method to the madness when it comes to Butch Berry. I at this point, it's hard to argue that we haven't found our own version of Dante Scarnecchia because he's managed to make a lot of these guys that we thought were going to be complete busts for the rest of their careers. He's actually made them serviceable, if not better. And in Keon Smith's case, I got a little bit tongue-tied there. In Keon Smith's case, there is something to be said about the snaps that he's gotten today. You can tell that there's something there, something that I did not even realize was there with him. It's possible that if given time and given development, Keon Smith could become the left tackle of the future for the Dolphins, especially since it's pretty obvious at this point that Teron Armstead is, I wouldn't call him a bad investment per se, because he has had an impact on the team in the sense of his leadership. And yes, while he is healthy, he is probably one of the best guys out there at any given moment. But his lack of availability is just hurting this offense in ways that it's going to cause problems eventually when we run into a team that has elite pass rushing. And mind you, the Jets are no slouch when it comes to that. They're not. But they were able to get the ball out quickly. They were able to, and even when they didn't, Tua was able to find open guys most of the time. He had 2 bad interceptions. No questions about that. But overall, I'd like to say the offense, like you said, Duke, it did a pretty decent job.
390 yards is nothing to scoff at, particularly against a good Jets defense. I know they were bad against the run coming in, and that showed up today. But just overall, I think the Dolphins.
Yeah, Duke, you keep cutting out, bro. You may need to reset your router or something while I hold down the fort. It's really, really bad. All right, so Duke will be back shortly. We're gonna try to see if we can get this whole thing sorted out. So I'm gonna go through some of the comments that we've got here. Once again, from Gethsemane, asking a Colts friend about Shaq Leonard and keeping Andrew Van Ginkel at the edge. I mean, if you had to choose an edge rusher that's on the team right now in order to replace Jaelan Phillips, Andrew Van Ginkel does seem to be the favorite. Van Ginkel has done a fantastic job and pretty much, especially as an edge rusher. We know that he's a good edge rusher, but as of late, as an inside linebacker, he hasn't been doing too badly either. So I'm very pleased to see that he's continuing to develop in that regard. As for the whole Shaq Leonard thing, Darius Leonard. I know that he's one of the best at his position when he's healthy. The question is just how healthy can he get at this point? There's probably a reason that the Colts were willing to part ways with him so easily. So is there any gas left in that tank? We're going to find that out quickly and in a hurry. So, because there are going to be teams that are going to be vying for him. Also, we already mentioned Derek Barnett got waived by the Eagles. We will see if anybody is going to try to claim him. I doubt it. Like, at this point, very few players that get waived like that are going to get claimed on their contracts. There's probably a reason. They're probably a little expensive. So we're going to be looking into this whole situation and saying that maybe the pieces are already there. Maybe Vic Fangio is happy with where we're at. I'm sure that he's very upset over the loss of Jaelan Phillips because now he has to try to make do with what he's got. All right, we're gonna get Duke back in here. Let's see if the internet connection is better. Can you speak for me, sir? No, it's not. It's not happening today. I don't know. Maybe there's too much bandwidth being taken over there. I'm not sure.
I don't have anything else running, so I'm not sure what's up. But
okay, who's your internet provider? Is it Xfinity by any chance? Because I've had nightmares with Xfinity over the past several months. Only just recently did they finally fix it for real.
who knows? So I'll duck out since I'm having a bad connection.
I'm sorry, Duke, but hey, listen, I appreciate you coming on with me anyway. All right, so we'll go ahead and we'll get ready to wrap this up in just a few minutes, simply because obviously we've already said a lot what there's to say. I will say this, especially when it comes to Tua. I made a tweet and I guess basically broke down what it is my thoughts were on this whole thing, and we'll get a little bit more into it when Fins Nation rolls around in a few days. My thoughts on Tua at this point is he is still very much the franchise quarterback of the future for the Miami Dolphins. I don't feel like there is any reason to believe otherwise. His numbers, 21 of 30, 243 yards, a touchdown. Obviously, those 2 interceptions were bad interceptions. I am not taking that away from him. I'm saying that he needs to clean that up, and I believe that eventually he will. But you got to look at it from this perspective. It feels like in many cases we hold Tua to a higher standard than most other teams hold their quarterbacks. Like if Patrick Mahomes makes an errant throw, as rare as it may be, do you think they're stressing it, or do you just think that they're saying, oh, well, that was a pretty dumb thing that he did? And there are a lot of really good quarterbacks out there. Like nobody on the Ravens is saying Lamar Jackson needs to be replaced, and he throws bad throws all the doggone time. Look at Justin Herbert. Chargers fans, maybe some of them are a little frustrated, but the Chargers still believe that Justin Herbert is their quarterback for the future, whether you believe it or not. So we look at Tua and, okay, he has a bad mistake every once in a blue moon, and maybe that blue moon comes along a little more often than we like. I get it. I totally understand it. It feels like he's good for at least one boneheaded play every single game. I get it. It's not something we like to see. It's not something we enjoy looking at. But at the same time, in between all of those plays that he makes a mistake, he's doing really phenomenal things with the football on the regular. That's a small price to pay for what Tua Tagovailoa can do. And look at this record right now. If you want to talk about wins being a QB stat, because some people like to do that, I personally don't, but a lot of people do. The Miami Dolphins are now currently sitting at 8-3, and they are tied for first place in the AFC East with the Baltimore Ravens. What more can you say at that point? I saw some comments coming my way saying that they want a quarterback that doesn't hesitate. Tua doesn't hesitate. That's the whole point. That's the reason why I feel like a lot of the mistakes are made. He picks a target and he launches it, and if it's the right target, great. If it's not, well, you just ran into one of those same mistakes that we are lamenting right now. That's the way I look at it from this perspective. Tua is still very much the franchise quarterback. I don't feel like there should be any argument about that. Chalk Van Straw says the offense seems to be struggling. Yes, I get it. But think about it from this perspective. Duke mentioned it while he was still here. Even as they were struggling, the Miami Dolphins got almost 400 yards of total offense. That's incredible. And they only had one defensive touchdown the entire game, and they won by 34 points. So that means even struggling, and with Tua throwing 2 interceptions, the Dolphins were still able to put up 27 points against a defense that everybody was saying is one of the best defenses in the NFL. Is that not what you want? I don't know what else. Like, the only thing that I can really imagine is that even if Tua were perfect, it's not going to be enough. Graph K Writer Docs, Phillips is done. I mean, he is for this year. Yeah, definitely for this year. But hopefully by sometime next season, he'll be ready to go and he'll be ready to come back stronger than before. Jalen Ramsey is honestly probably needs to be his best friend right now, because if there's anybody out there who knows what it's like to be dealing with an injury like this, it's probably going to be him. I would hope that Jalen Ramsey, being the leader that he seems to be when he's in there in the locker room, he's going to take Jalen under the other Jalen, like so many Jalens. Jalen Ramsey will hopefully take Jaelan Phillips under his wing and say, listen, kid, we're going to get through this, where I'm going to show you how to come back from something like this. Because he's done it. He obviously did it this season. So if anybody could, I would hope that Jaelan Phillips has a great role model here in Jalen Ramsey. Asher, yep, let's go Fins. Thank you very much. I really appreciate the comments as always. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to wrap it up here. I really appreciate everybody who are joining us. It's a little bit shorter than we wanted, but right now we weren't able to. It's just a weird day to have a football game. Not my panelists were not prepared for exactly what time this whole thing was going to go down. And believe me, I struggled too, folks. If anybody was there for pregame, I had to clock out immediately, get onto the pregame show, rush home from my work office, and get here to watch the football game. So very bizarre circumstances on all fronts. So, but Gethsemane talking about Nick Needham. Yeah. But mind you, it took a while for Nick Needham to come back, and he's actually playing as a backup now, but that's not because Needham is suddenly bad. I don't think it's just because you got Jalen Ramsey, Xavier Howard, Kader Kohu. You can't play everybody at once. So, if Needham gets more playing time soon, it might be because he might be as a safety. We're still waiting to see what ultimately happens with the Javon Holland injury. Some people were saying that it could possibly be a number of things, but he was able to get up off the field, so that's a good thing. Hopefully it's not nearly as serious as whatever happened to Jaelan Phillips, just his Achilles just popping like that. So we're going to have our fingers crossed that on a long week, it's going to be a long week for the Dolphins. They're going to have some extra time to rest up. Hopefully they'll have some of their guys back. Hopefully Javon Holland will come back. Hopefully we won't have to necessarily worry about losing too many other players. All right, so that's going to be it for this show. Thank you all so much for listening. If you haven't already done so, make sure you go to prizepicks.com, use that promo code 5, that's FIVE, and they will match up to $100 on your initial deposit when you sign up. Use promo code 5, FIVE. Go to prizepicks.com, deposit your $100, and let PrizePicks give you $100 of their dollars for you to play with and get started winning today. We will see you all next time for more Miami Dolphins content here on the 5 Reasons Sports Network. Fins Nation will be there Monday morning, and we will have Pulse of Fins Nation on Tuesday night, as well as, again, Fins Nation Monday, Wednesday, Fridays in the morning, and then Pulse of Fins Nation on Tuesday. And every once in a while, you'll also get an extra yard with Alex Dono and Troy Stratford. So plenty of content for all you guys to enjoy. We will see you all next time.